Good morning, Blag. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Ash. How about you?
Doing good, thanks. This is a really exciting one because you've last week we had a developer request come in for us to show something specific, and I'll let you talk through the details here in just a second.
Sure.
But it's really neat. You've kind of taken that and ran with it over the last week, and now we've got something to show. So hopefully we'll be able to help at least that one developer out, and maybe some other folks in the process.
Yeah, and quickly let me show the question. So we got a question from Jeff Lee on YouTube, and something like paraphrasing, it was like, I want to make an application that sends me an email where the user presses submit on a user form. So that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, and we thought it was really neat, right? Because we've been doing all these live streams recently for Nylas and talking through Nylas APIs. And the interesting part of this was you had recently demonstrated exactly how to do this using Ruby SDK, the Nylas Ruby SDK, and the Nylas Python SDK, right? So it was just like, okay, yeah, of course, we should show how to do that in the Java SDK as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we jump in, I guess we should say who we are. I'm Ash. I'm Director of Developer Relations here at Nylas.
And I'm Blag. I'm a serial developer advocate here at Nylas.
Awesome. So yeah, we're going to talk you through how to let a user come in and submit some data via a form, and then have that then in turn send an email. And we're going to do that today using the Nylas Java SDK.
Yep. So without further ado, let me just share my screen. And I'm sorry. Okay, and here is. So we're going to have a form. So it's just going to say, if you're not happy with the provided service, please let us know. So here you're going to be able to input your name. So I'm going to put just my name. I'm going to put my email. And I'm going to just leave a comment like, actually, I really like your services. So when I hit submit, it's going to take a little bit. And it's going to say, thanks, we received your feedback, and we're going to be automatically redirected. So if I go to my email and I refresh, we're going to see that actually we received an email. So it's a complaint from me coming from my email. And I'm saying that actually I really like their services. So in a nutshell, we're creating a form, we're passing some feedback, and we're able to send it via email.
Pretty cool. So we've got the whole user experience kind of down. Again, like you can, if you're building this into an application, of course there'd be more finesse, but we really wanted to show how to start connecting those dots for this user, Japella on YouTube. I hope I'm saying that right. And so again, we've got the form on the front end. The user fills out the form, hits submit. On the back end, magic happens, an email is sent using the Nylas Java SDK, and then upon success, the user can see a confirmation message in the browser.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So why don't we jump into the code from here?
Sure. Let me just reshare my screen. And for this project, I'm using Intellij, just because it's sometimes kind of like easier to handle projects. So first I have the Pom Xml, which is a file which is gonna have all the configuration and everything. So
I'll just stop there for a second. For those of us who aren't like totally in Java land all the time, which by the way is also you and me, for the Pom file is basically like, it's the place where you're gonna put in your dependencies and your, as you got highlighted here, the version number for your project and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I guess the last time I used Java was like probably 20 years ago or so.
Yeah. And then you came screaming into the future within 1 week and built this out, which is really cool.
Yeah, thanks. So here pretty much we're calling Spark Java, which is a web framework. We're calling, of course, the Nylas Java SDK. And also we're calling the .env Java, which is going to allow us to actually read env files so we can store our access token. And we're also calling this lf4j, which is kind of like for logging. So if we don't use this, it's going to give us a warning. It's still going to work, but we prefer not to have any kind of warning. So that's kind of it for the POM file, which is pretty much configuration. And we can jump into the actual source code. So first, we need to import some Java utilities. Also, we need to import the Nylas packages that we're going to use. And we need to import, of course, the .env file so we can read env files. And least but not last, we need to import the Spark web framework, which is going to allow us to create a web form in the first place.
Cool. And let's just pause here for a second. I think we over the weeks we have that we've been doing this, we talked a lot about this package called .env because it appears in seemingly every language stack. So this is simply a way to let you store your environment variables, hence the env, the env, and this package gives you lets you stick those into another file because typically your environment variables are sensitive, or oftentimes they will be. You don't want to commit those to source code. So that's all that one's doing. It's not obviously a hard requirement, but certainly a best practice to keep your environment variables out of your source code.
Exactly. And with this, it's pretty easy to just create that .env file, put your information there, and just read it. And it's completely separated from your code, so the integrity of your password or information is kept secured. So what we need to do first is we're going to create a get path that is going to be called /feedback. So this one is going to be when we actually call the form like this. You see we're passing localhost, and then here at the end, we have the /feedback. So that's going to be the get method. So once we call the form, this /feedback is going to display our form. So what I'm doing here is just creating the HTML. I'm not using any template. I'm just using pure HTML. And here I'm calling Tailwind CSS just to make it look nicer. But the important thing here is that I'm using this form method post, because when we click submit, there's going to be a post request. Here I have the name, the email, and the comments. So when we hit the submit button, it's going to go and say, okay, it's a post request. And where is that post request going? We're simply going to call the same feedback, but replacing the get with a post. So as we're not specifying where the post should go, it's going to go first and look if we have the same feedback. So once we're in there, we're going to call this send email method, which is simply going to recover the parameters that we're passing. So name, email, and comments. So whatever we type in here is going to be grabbed in there, and we're going to pass that to the send email function, which is here. So here we're going to receive them as parameters. We're going to load the .env file. We're going to create a new Nylas client. We're going to access our Nylas account, user the access token, which we get on the env file. We're going to create a draft email. We're going to set the subject, which is going to be complaint from the name and the email. We're going to set the body, which is in the comments. And here, we're going to say who's going to receive the email, which is, in this case, it's me. And I'm using an array because we might send to a couple of recipients, so more than one. Then we're going to try to send that draft. And once it's been sent, we're simply going to reply like thanks for your feedback, and we're going to have a redirection. If something goes wrong, we're simply going to return an error message displaying what didn't work. So here on Intellij, to run this, we simply need to go to main, do a right click, and just run it. So press run main. And here we're going to see that it's going to be listening on port 4567, which is exactly this one. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. And what I mean is, if someone knows Java, they're going to be able to actually use a template, which I fail on that. I haven't used Java in a long time, so I didn't want to spend too much time trying to learn a template. I just wanted to answer the question that we received on YouTube.
Yeah, so look, I think that with these kinds of samples, sometimes it's actually helpful to see things in line just to see where all the pieces are going anyways. So if I kind of replay that back in the code, you had that one method that you were using, the get method. So you have an endpoint, it's called /feedback. When the browser is directed to that website, so running on local on a certain port, /feedback, the user is going to see that form, because when you type into a URL bar in the browser, it's a get request. So you're using the get method. Then what you do is you have that form just there sitting in line. Again, typically if you're building an application, of course, you're not going to have that there. You would template it out somewhere else. But either way, you take the form and you display it. You return it so it's displayed in the browser. Now the user can fill in the form, hit submit. When they hit submit, they are hitting the post route on /feedback this time. And the post route means that this time you're sending data to the server. And so when they send data to your server, in this case, you're calling that send email function that you've created. And that's taking things like the name, the email address, and the comments. And all that stuff's just basically like Java stuff, right? So it's sort of typical web development stuff. We haven't even touched Nylas at this point. But now Nylas with the Java SDK makes it super simple, because you saw in the code there, it's really just a matter of, okay, we're going to take the name, we're going to set the name, we're going to take the email address, we're going to set the email address, we're going to take the comments, and we're going to do that. And you already had hard-coded into your code there the recipient's email address. In this case, it was you. So email fires off, and then upon success, the success is displayed in the browser. If something goes wrong, you had error handling there. Again, if you're building that into an application, that would be more robust. But for the purposes of the sample, I think we're just showing a quick round trip of show a form, grab some data, send an email based on that data, and then show success.
Yes. And let me share something real quick that I forgot, because I already have this compiled and everything. So it'd be important to show that. So basically what we want, because when we create this, it might complain that it can't find Nylas, or it can complain it doesn't find Spark Java or something like that. So what we need to do is actually do a right click here and build the module. So by building it, it's going to call Maven, and Maven is going to make sure that everything is all right. So it's going to build, it's going to grab all the sources and everything. And something that I discovered here in Intellij, you actually need to go into the preferences. And here you need to go to build, execution, and deployment. Then you need to go to compiler. And I think it's Java compiler. Give me just a second. Oh, here, build tools. So you need to go to build tools. You need to go to Maven, and then runner. Here, this delegate IDE build run actions to Maven is going to be disabled by default when you create your project. So you need to go here, and you need to actually tick this. So when you do the build, it's gonna ask Maven to actually do the build for you, because otherwise it might give you some errors. So before you try to just run your main application, just remember to go to Preferences, Build Tools, Maven Runner, tick this delegate to Maven, and then build your module. Because that way, everything's going to be nice and fine. And when I was working on this project, I had a lot of issues at first, because I was like, okay, I'm specifying everything, what is not working. I'm using Maven, what is not working. And that's what little option helps you a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good call out, Black. I'm glad you thought to mention that. Yeah, you never expect that the IDE configuration is gonna be the core issue, but in this case, yeah, if you're running into issues, that could very well be it. So I have to imagine that that's going to be different in every IDE, but at least in my experience, it seems highly likely that people would be using Intellij for Java development.
Yeah. So, of course, we have that already on our Nylas samples repo. And a blog post is coming its way, and it's going to have everything explained, even the tick that you need to use and everything. And even how to compile on the terminal. So everything is going to be covered there.
That's really cool. All right. Well, it seems like that's a great turnaround, Black. So thanks again. And huge thanks to our viewer on YouTube, Japalua.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm not reading that right. But thanks for your request. Hopefully folks can see that, like, if you ask for something like this, we're going to make a best effort to get it done. In this case, we're about a week since someone asked for this, and now we're coming back to you with a sample repo, with a video that you can watch again, as well as a blog post to come in the near future. And while we're talking about the blog, I'll go ahead and pull this up. Nylas.com/blog. The DevRel team for Nylas is publishing there with developer content at least twice a week. We've got a lot of other really awesome colleagues that are posting other things about Nylas as well. But we're gonna, if you're following along and you want to get this content in written form, just keep your eye on that blog. That'll be coming soon.
Yeah, and one thing to mention is that almost everything that we do on live streams is gonna end up either on the blog post or the Nylas samples, or both.
Yeah, it sometimes we do it the other direction, but yes, eventually we, if we can, we try to handle, make sure that we're giving you stuff both in code form on the repos, as well as with live streams and blogs. So yeah, keep an eye out there. That one will be published by Blag sometime in the near future.
Yep. Okay,
let's share one more time that URL for your repo. I'm gonna just pull it up right here. So again, Nylas-samples on GitHub. That's our GitHub organization for, you can guess, it's Nylas samples, right? So we've got things there. If you're not a Java person, that's fine. We've got Ruby, Python, Node.js. You've just recently published some PHP Blag, as well as I think there's a little bit of C# and
Rust.
I'm not even sure.
Yeah, so a little bit of R, a little bit of Rust. So we try to put everything in there.
Yeah, and so it's a constantly growing library of samples. So go check it out. We cover a lot of different use cases, not just email sent with Nylas, but also managing calendar events and contacts as well. So lots of really cool stuff that you can get in there and play with. And as always, if you have requests for content that you're looking for, things that you want to know how to do with the Nylas API, we will definitely get that put together for you.
Yeah, and whether you're watching us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, we also have a YouTube channel. So you can go there and you can see all the episodes that we have been running so far. And I think this one is the 11th episode. So
yeah, I didn't realize we'd already done that many, but yeah, so we're up a couple of times a week to send out live streams that eventually make their way to YouTube. So you can go back and check these out on demand.
So I think we need to throw some kind of party if we hit like 50 episodes or something like that. I don't know. 25.
50th episode party. That'll happen pretty fast, given that we're doing 2 of them. But yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks you so much.
All right. Thanks, Blag. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Bye. Take care.